такой слайдик, и такой было. Да ну, я тебе... Все равно, все равно. Что это такое? Четыре дня уже бежит.
You are not a brand.
Hey everyone, I'm Josh, and this is Josh Wright Piano TV. Hopefully by the time I've posted this video, I came up with a shocking enough title that you clicked on this video. And it is shocking because it was with one of my students this last week. Her name's Dana, I teach her on Skype. She lives in Hong Kong, brilliant student. And she and I were talking about performance anxiety. She has a competition coming up. She's playing the first Chopin impromptu. However that goes. There. Beautiful little piece. And I've never personally played it, but really have enjoyed teaching her on it. She's playing it really high quality. And she said, you know, when I play for you, I'm pretty comfortable. I might get a little bit nervous, but then I think she said she went to a hospital or something where they had a piano, and she said I put the soft pedal down and I barely played and I still was just so nervous the whole time. How do I get rid of that? Now, I've done a lot of videos on overcoming performance anxiety, tips to get rid of nerves, but her and I were just having a really good discussion together. I've taught her for a long time, so we've had lots of discussions, but we kind of came up with something that really resonated with me, and I hope it can help each of you as well. I was saying something like, imagine if you could never play piano again. How would you play that piece if this is the last time you ever get to play? And she's like, oh, I have to pretend like I'm maybe dying tomorrow or something. This is the last time. I said, yeah, exactly. That's right. So you need to perform like you are going to die tomorrow, or like you're going to have some horrible accident that, you know, completely cripples your hands, that you can't play anymore. It's not to be morbid. I'm not sharing this to, you know, shock you and make you fearful, like to walk outside. But I'm saying this because it adds a whole new element of meaning and passion into your playing, and it gets rid of all that clutter and negative self-talk that goes on in your mind. So I played Saint-Saëns Concerto number 2, first movement, the famous one, for the first time on Saturday night at an outdoor concert. There was about 500 or 600 people there. Really fun outdoor concert. I played a bunch of Chopin etudes, Liszt Rhapsody number 2, La Campanella, Liebesstrom, and then I ended with this with my wife playing second piano. And I can honestly tell you, I was thinking about what Dana and I had discussed, and it was remarkable, like how at ease I felt, and how I kind of almost felt sad in a way. I was like, what if this is the last time I get to play? Because you can't predict your future. I remember feeling that way when I played Rachmaninoff Third Concerto. You can search on YouTube, Josh Wright, Rachmaninoff Third Concerto, if you want to go watch that. I remember walking onto stage and thinking, I love this piece. I'm actually really sad. Tonight's going to be the last time I play this with an orchestra in probably a really long time. I don't know when another orchestra is going to ask me to play Rock 3. It could be tomorrow that someone calls me and asks me, but more than likely it'll probably be a few years, maybe even like a decade. You just don't know if you're not like a mainstream performing artist when you're going to be asked back and what repertoire they're going to want to program. And I can honestly say that Rock 3 was one of my more solid orchestra performances because I had this very intimate feeling about it. So this Saint-Saëns, I'll play a little bit of it for you guys, just to solidify my own performance. I'll play the first couple of pages for you. But the meaning of this is so much more deep every time I sit down, because I say, if this is the last time, if I'm gonna die tomorrow, if this is the last time I can play, what do I want to say with this piece? By the way, I do not have sostenuto. I have no idea. This is a Hamburg Steinway. I have no idea why they did not put a sostenuto, so my pedaling is not quite what I usually do on other pianos with this piano, so just a heads up. This main theme. You just enjoy more, you savor more, and you don't worry about the little mistakes. As you can see, I don't know how many of you know the piece, but you know, I had a little at the very beginning. Had a little double take there, you probably noticed right at the beginning, and you know, I kind of thought, oh, should I stop the video and you know, redo that so it's perfect? No, had a little double take there, you probably noticed right at the beginning, and you know, I kind of thought, oh, should I stop the video and you know, redo that so it's perfect. No, that'd be so hypocritical, you know. And then I just got thinking, think about what you're actually preaching in this video, Josh. And then I was just like, okay, whatever. No longer, you know, because you always get a little apprehensive when you start, but that piece is easy to connect to. It's pretty epic. Okay, so but even if you're playing something as easy as a Bach minuet. You know, maybe you add an ornament, maybe you take a little risk or something that you wouldn't normally do. This whole idea, this whole mindset, I hope can be of assistance to each of you as you perform, and I hope it can provide some value to help take you beyond your nerves. I listened to a TED Talk recently of a pianist that was talking about this. I can't remember her name, but she basically said her teacher berated her and said, "You're so selfish. Why are you so nervous? This isn't about you, it's about the music." Of a pianist that was talking about this. I can't remember her name, but she basically said her teacher berated her and said, "You're so selfish. Why are you so nervous? This isn't about you, it's about the music." And I do truly believe that. I kind of do like to be a little selfish, though. I like to think, what do I want to say with this beautiful music? I want to channel Chopin through what I want to say. I'm not saying even remotely that, oh, like I'm more important than Chopin, because we all are serving the music. Of course, if Chopin wasn't there, I wouldn't have anything to play, you know, of his. So, but this mentality of how can I make this the most meaningful performance of my life up to this point is something that I want you to think about, and stop thinking about what the audience thinks or who might be in the audience. I'll leave you with a little story that I heard from my teacher at Michigan, and I think Robert Rue had told this to him. And I'm probably going to mess up details, so please forgive me if you do know the story and I mess up these details. But there was this young pianist, up and coming, bright, wonderful artist that was performing his debut in Germany at the
Ой, это сложно. Может быть. Ты серьезно так думаешь? Как же будет думать? Да. Что мы там? Да, так мы не так, понимаешь? Есть еще другие песни искусства, да. Ладно. Все о любви, конечно, о любви к женщине, да, то есть больше ничего. Бетховен тоже все только о любви писал. И Скрябин, и Рафаэлов тоже. Все бабское. Ну, понимаешь, любовь она в постели, любовь. Да. Она может просочиться и в оперу, и, ну, как бы опера вот только про это, типа, но там тоже она вылезает. Меня не касается. Я тебе просто говорю, да, вот, да. Ну, все-таки так. Религия там женщины ни при чем. Да. Космос, ты понял, да. Мужская просто тема, которая, да, как бы, типа шаманизм, что ли, не знаю, я как это сказать. Да, радость. Да. Наверное, да. грандиозный, да, вот это вот, эпик. Да, наш, да. Нормально. Да. Нам, то есть как бы мы же воздушные, понимаешь, мы же мужики, нас вот понимает он тебя, да. Но это тебя не сделать, то есть это как бы такая дуализм, ну как бы не дуализм, а просто такая тематика, что тебя тянет, тянет, но ты как бы не можешь оторваться. Вот умри, освободишься, да, с ним, конечно, станешь, да, ну я понял. Убей себя, может сразу тогда, нет, ладно, да. То есть какой выход? Ты себя усовершенствуешь, тянешь себя в космос, ты потом вертикализуешь и там, ну только без этого, ладно, то есть ты ничего себе не сделаешь в одном поколении, там, да. Ну, с другой стороны, хотя бы дрожь в руках, да. Нет, ну жизнь можно прожить нормально, да. Ну как бы, да. Да, сам себя. Ну хорошо, молодой. Ой. Кто здесь?
This very prestigious concert hall, and he was playing something by Busoni, and he walks onto stage, and lo and behold, he looks out into the audience, and there is Busoni at his debut. Paralyzed by fear, he completely botches his whole recital. He's distraught. He gets through it. Afterwards, people are coming up congratulating him, of course, maybe with some, unconvincing congratulations. And a man who looks very much like Busoni came up to him and gave him congratulations. So it wasn't even Busoni himself. It was just a guy who looked like him. But that perception, oh my gosh, Busoni's in the audience. Why should that have an effect on how he plays? Well, because he's playing Busoni's work. Of course he's going to get more nervous. But why? Busoni is a composer, and he also arranged some gorgeous things by Bach and others. Why would that affect the way this young man was going to play? Just Busoni understood that every artist, has their own voice. We all understand that. Chopin understood that. Every single artist, every great composer understands that their music is going to be interpreted in different ways. So stop thinking that you have to perform it like, oh, I've got to be Martha Argerich or Daniel Trifonov or Christian Zimmerman. I've got to play it just like them. No, you don't. You play it how you play it, and you be convinced of that. And then go back and listen to your recording and say, ooh, that wasn't convincing, or oh, that was really convincing, I'm keeping that. Then you can compare it to those guys, glean more ideas from them, but then make them your own. You know what? We're going to keep going. One more story. My teacher at Michigan, I thought this was Logan Skelton. Brilliant guy. The way he tells stories, he's like the best storyteller ever. If any of you know him, you'll agree that he has this amazing way. I remember things that he says so poignantly. He said, I remember playing Prokofiev's 7th Sonata, and I made the Richter recording my own, gospel, basically. I listened to that thing until I wore out the record, basically. And I believe that sonata was written for Richter, if I'm remembering correctly, by Prokofiev. Might have been his 8th. I think it was the 7th, though. Anyway, he said, I thought Richter played it correctly, and so I listened to that and I copied everything he did, and I recorded myself. I sounded just like him, and then I stopped listening to the recording for a few months, but of course I kept doing everything Richter did, and then I recorded myself 3 or 4 months later, or sometime later, and I listened back and I said, I sound nothing like Richter. I sound like myself. And I thought that was a really great example. The worst advice I've ever received was from a judge. I'm not going to name her name because she's a famous pianist, but it was horrendous advice. I was 17 years old. She said, stop listening to recordings. You need to develop your own voice. That is the worst advice ever. You need to get inspiration from the greatest artists in history that we have at our fingertips on YouTube and with all of these, with Apple Music or whatever it might be, whatever music service or getting physical CDs. I don't care what you do. You need to learn from them, and then you make it your own. And that has been some of the most valuable advice I've ever received. So we've explored a lot of stuff in this video, but I hope it's been helpful. If any of you have any questions, my email is josh@joshwrightpiano.com. If you've gotten value out of this or any of my other videos, please hit the subscribe button up here. I'm going to list all of my videos on my website down here. If you'd like to click that link, or you can click over here to keep watching more videos. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
Так, что там еще? Смеются. Ты издеваешься, что что-то еще говорит вообще?
Thanks for checking out GuitarTricks.com recently. For a short time, when you sign up, you'll get an awesome discount on an annual subscription when you use code ONLY99. It's one of the best deals.
You're not Joker, Mopper. You sign up.
New polling tells us Biden does have the opportunity for a statement map-changing win. That is not to say there is no path to re-election for the president, but he needs overwhelming election day turnout in a half dozen states or so, maybe more. Let's look at some of our latest polling, and let's use the 2016 map to do it, because brand new CNN polling out overnight in some of the key battlegrounds. This one here, look at Arizona. Joe Biden with a 4-point lead in Arizona. That is close. If Joe Biden can win this state, that might be a game over statement in and of itself. Change the Sun Belt states, but look, this one is very close. Joe Biden with a lead. He'd love to turn that state competitive to the end. Let's move to the east here and look at our new CNN polling. Again, one of the states that could decide it all and that actually we expect to count its votes quickly on Election Day, North Carolina, Joe Biden with a 6-point lead in North Carolina. If that holds up, that would block the president. He needs North Carolina's electoral votes to win re-election. Joe Biden with a lead there. A couple others quickly. Michigan. Remember, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. That's what made Donald Trump president. He cracked the blue wall. Well, look at this. The new CNN poll, a 12-point lead for Joe Biden. A steady, stable lead we've seen for Joe Biden in Michigan. This one, 12 points heading into the final weekend. That would be a statement that the Democrats are getting the industrial states back. And then you move over to Wisconsin. Again, part of the president's big win 4 years ago. You see this here, an 8-point lead for Biden in Wisconsin. Just go back, remember the history, 47.8 to 47. Wisconsin was one of those in 2016, 22,000 votes and change, 52-44 there. Now, that is not to say the president can't come back, but let's switch maps to just show you something. That advantage in those states, right? Let's start with the president's map. This is the president's map back in 2016. If Joe Biden can win Arizona, like you just saw in our poll, win North Carolina, like you just saw in our poll, win Michigan, and win Wisconsin, that's enough right there. If he holds the Clinton states and then flips those 4, he would be the next president of the United States, and he can do it without Pennsylvania, without Florida, without Texas. The president has a path, but he has to turn people out overwhelmingly. One more just look here at the battlegrounds. If you look at the state of play right now, 10 battleground states on this graphic. Let me try to stretch it out for you a little bit. 10 battleground states on this graphic. What do you see? Only 2 of them does the president have leads in new polls. Florida by a little bit. Iowa, one poll last night shows him up by 7. But look at all the blue for Biden. Biden has more menu opportunities to get there. The president, draw to an inside straight flush maybe. Both candidates on the campaign trail in the final days hitting the battlegrounds, trying to get to 270.
3 days to put an end to a presidency that has divided this nation. 3 days. We can put an end to a presidency that has failed to protect this nation. 3 days. We can put an end to a presidency that has fanned the flames of hate.
Biden is a Washington vulture who decimated your steel mills, annihilated your coal jobs, clean coal, and supported every disastrous sellout trade deal for over half a century.
Моя карта радует меня постоянно.
Тинькофф Блэк начисляет деньги каждый месяц.
У меня кэшбэк с каждой покупки.
До 30% по спецпредложениям.
А теперь еще и 10% на остаток по счету.
Это моментальная карта. Появилась в приложении и сразу работает.
Тинькофф Блэк. Я люблю ее.
Успей оформить карту Тинькофф Блэк на сайте tinkoff.ru и получить 10% на остаток по счету до конца года.
Нельзя такой курс на дороге. Что ты делаешь? Вергол
With us this Sunday to kick off the conversation and share their reporting and their insights, CNN White House correspondent Caitlin Collins, Jonathan Martin of the New York Times. Caitlin, to you first, because Donald Trump is running against Joe Biden, but he's also running against the coronavirus, and heading into this last weekend, Dr. Tony Fauci giving the most blunt interview yet, and he knows what he's doing here. The election is right around the corner. Dr. Fauci, this is from the Washington Post. He says, Fauci said former Vice President Joe Biden's campaign is taking it seriously from a public health perspective. Trump, Fauci said, is looking at it from a different perspective. He said that perspective was the economy and reopening the country. Dr. Fauci saying right there, Joe Biden has a public health plan about the coronavirus, and the president does not, 2 days before America votes.
Yeah, it's a pretty scathing indictment of the way that the president has handled this. And it's been clear that Dr. Anthony Fauci and the president have not agreed about the approach to the pandemic for several months now. But to see it put in that stark of terms as voters are casting their ballots, they are making this decision. And we know that the pandemic is hanging over all of this. And that is not what President Trump wanted. For several months throughout this pandemic, he talked about how November he thought things would be better. He thought we would be rounding the corner, is the phrase he uses so often. And of course, we are seeing in the numbers that we are not. We're not even close. We're actually going in the other direction, seeing some of the highest case numbers we've ever seen. And John, I've been talking to Trump campaign officials and the president's allies. They're not happy about this because they know that the president does not have a good credibility meter when it comes to the pandemic. And they know that if that is the top of mind for voters, it does not bode well for them on Tuesday.
And so, Jonathan, you look at all the numbers, and it's dizzying, the number of late battleground state polls, and some of them are contradictory. One poll has Trump up in Florida, one poll has Biden up in Florida. There's the poll out of Iowa. The recent polls have shown it very close. All of a sudden, the Iowa poll seems to show Trump momentum. So we're going to count this out on Tuesday, but it's just indisputable that Joe Biden has many more options, many more menu options to get to 270 electoral votes and beyond, many, many more. You write with your colleague Alex Burns in the paper today, in Wisconsin, voters who did not cast a ballot in 2016 favor Mr. Biden by 19 points. They have a similarly lopsided preference in Florida, where Mr. Biden leads by 17 points. The advantage with people who sat out 2016 is 12 points in Pennsylvania, 7 points in Arizona. The Trump campaign keeps telling us they've registered people who didn't play in 2016. They're going to overwhelm us on Election Day. But you say, at least so far, the evidence points in the other direction.
Data and anecdotes prove, I think, pretty conclusively, John, that these new voters are showing up to support Joe Biden more than they are Donald Trump. And we see it in our new survey today, as you pointed out. I saw it last week in Texas. I was in 3 different parts of that state and talked to over 50 voters at early polling sites. The new voters are overwhelmingly young and non-white, and they're not showing up for Donald Trump there. And so I think it's pretty clear that the people who are coming into the political system are doing so out of opposition to this president more than to register their support. And I think, John, it's important to keep in mind for your listeners, the onus here is on President Trump to hold his map. And we talk a lot about Florida and Georgia and North Carolina and Arizona and now, yes, even Texas, for good reason, because Biden could win in a rout if he picks up those Sunbelt states. But Biden only needs to win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin as long as he holds the rest of the Hillary Clinton states to win the presidency. And every one of those states, those 3 states in the industrial Midwest, Joe Biden is leading and has been leading for months. President Trump has not led in a poll any of those states for months.
Right, and so that's, you see 4 rallies by the president just yesterday in the same state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Caitlin Collins. That tells you everything you need to know. He is trying to find people, bring them out of the woodwork and more. I want you to listen to a little bit of the president yesterday. This is Butler, Pennsylvania. The president yesterday trying to make his closing message. He knows the coronavirus is spiking everywhere, including in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And instead of trying to address, here, I'm your president, here's what I'll do differently, he talks about Joe Biden.
Biden will delay the vaccine and impose a crushing lockdown on all Americans. Under Biden, there will be no school, no graduations, no weddings, no Thanksgiving, no Easter, no Christmas, no 4th of July, no nothing.
All right, that fails a fact check in many regards. The former Vice President, Mr. Biden, has said he'd be happy to have a vaccine as quickly as possible if the scientists support it. And he says he does not support a national lockdown. He supports targeted measures, including more mask use. And yes, shutting down places if you have a spike. But the bigger point to me is that we've watched around the world. We've watched governors and we've watched mayors. Boris Johnson making the painful decision to put his country, the UK, back into lockdown. The President of the United States has not once taken a break from the campaign trail as the cases have spiked in recent days to address the American people as their president, whether it's to defend his plan, whether it's to change his plan, whether it's to tell them about what lies ahead. Instead, he does all these rallies where he says things about the virus that simply aren't true.
Yeah, and you're seeing these 2 candidates go to states where cases are surging, and you see the difference in how they address it. Where Joe Biden talks about the numbers going up, the president doesn't. He instead frames it as if the numbers are going down. But this is the risk that the Trump campaign is taking, because they are betting that there are people like the ones in that crowd who are happy to come out, not social distance, a lot of them not wearing a mask, and listen to the president, instill fear in people that there is going to be another shutdown, that you will see the restrictions that we saw in the United States several months months ago in March and whatnot. But the risk in that is that there are also a lot of people who don't want to go to a rally like that, who have not been around a crowd like that in a year now. And so the risk is that they are going to alienate those voters by holding these rallies, by pushing that message to where voters are going to see Biden potentially as a safe alternative. And so that's their fear here, because you're right, the president is taking this in a much different approach than someone like Boris Johnson, who says, I don't want to lock the country down for another month, but that's where we're going because our cases are going up. We are seeing cases go up, and the president is taking not only that approach, he's taking the opposite approach by holding these rallies and by saying that businesses and states need to be opened back up fully to where they were at pre-pandemic levels.
And so, Jonathan, what do you look for in the final 2 days? They're sending Barack Obama, the former president, back to South Florida. Democrats are worried there about African-American and Latino turnout. As Democrats try, they think in many places the early voting has helped them, but they have to finish. They have to execute to the end. And they have some people, older voters who are breaking for Biden this time, might be afraid to vote because of the coronavirus. Inner-city African-Americans, the disproportionate COVID cases. What are you looking for in the final days in terms of execution?
Well, we mentioned Pennsylvania a second ago for good reason. That state, more than the other competitive states, has most of their votes taking place on Election Day itself. Yes, that some Democrats there have done mail-in ballots, but a lot of people are voting in that state on Election Day itself. And more broadly, in the black community in this country, there's a lot of voters who don't want to vote by mail. A lot of African Americans prefer to vote on Election Day. And that's why you see Jill Biden, Barack Obama, Kamala Harris sweeping back into places like Florida in the final hours of this election to drive black turnout on Election Day votes itself.
And we will see if it works out. The fabulous, fun final days where execution now. The candidates give all their speeches, but this is about execution, identifying voters, using your data. Make sure you turn them out. Caitlin Collins, Jonathan Martin, grateful to start this Sunday with the reporting and insights there.
Tonight, the Battleground Blitz with just 3 days to go.
Both candidates making their closing arguments.
Joe Biden targeting the Midwest, reuniting on the trail with Barack Obama for the first time this campaign.
Trump cares about feeding his ego. Joe cares about keeping you and your family safe.
The new effort to reach African-American voters.
President Trump going all in on Pennsylvania, making 4 stops just today.
This is the state that will save the American dream.
And why North Carolina is more up for grabs than ever.
Nearly 100,000 new COVID cases in one day alone, a new record, and the new fears of spread this Halloween night. A party of hundreds broken up in Brooklyn, and the big football game today where cases are surging.
Locked down again, England closing back down as cases there rise dramatically. And a Halloween with heart, the ghoulishly clever way these children's holiday dreams are coming true.
This is NBC Nightly News with Jose Diaz-Balart, reporting from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Kate Snow from Cleveland, Ohio.
Good evening. Kate and I are in battleground states tonight, and we are not alone. With just 3 days left, it was an all-out blitz today, with candidates, VP candidates, spouses, and more blanketing swing states. The goal right now, to get every last one of their voters to the polls.
Already we've seen record early voting. More than 90 million Americans have cast their ballots. We're here talking to voters about what matters to them. One of the biggest issues, COVID. Public health officials are also worried that Halloween celebrations could lead to a new surge.
We are spread out across the country tonight. We begin with Jeff Bennett with the Biden campaign.
A sprint to the finish tonight. Joe Biden and Barack Obama in battleground Michigan, making several stops together in person for the first time in the 2020 race.
Joe Biden is my brother. I love this. I love Joe Biden, and he will be a great president.
Their push aimed at boosting support among black voters, including a performance by R&B legend Stevie Wonder.
Keep on
Obama hitting the president hard on the coronavirus crisis.
Trump cares about feeding his ego. Joe cares about keeping you and your family safe. Here's the truth, Michigan. This pandemic would have been challenging for any president. But this idea that somehow this White House has done anything but completely screw this up is nonsense.
Obama and Biden condemning the president's false claim that doctors are inflating the COVID death count.
You know, our doctors get more money if somebody dies from COVID.
What in the hell is wrong with this man?
Не, ну никто не знает, да, мы не знаем правильные цифры, да, кто там правильно говорил, кто неправильно, ну понял ты меня, да, ну нет, не знаю, типа того. А народ Америки, да, это просто, да, понимаешь, они-то хотят, да, наверное, нет, да, они неграмотные просто, они не знают, им надо управлять, как социалисты говорят, да. Да. То есть они же не свободны, они не могут сами решить себе маску надевать, не надевать, правильно? То есть как бы да, ресторан, да, и так далее. То есть как бы вот, например, я тебе просто говорю, что да, то есть ну не надо, я не оскорбляюсь. Понимаете, да, нет, надо. Ну да, это все так вот, да, интересно. Между собой, да. Между собой. Ну нет, а прессе как выгодно? Ей выгоднее быть за кого-то или против? Неизвестно. Тяжело. А, вот это да. Вот я понимаю, помню. Давай не будем, ладно? Я вот лично, я понимаю, да, понял себя. И вообще политика, вот понимаешь, да, короче.
People of this nation have suffered and sacrificed for
Thanks for checking out GuitarTricks.com recently. Quick question, want a free guitar? Yeah, you heard me right. Right now is the best.
Robert Estrin at livingpianos.com. Today, 3 secrets to memorizing music. Well, the 3 secrets all come down to one thing, and I'll tell you how they relate to 3 aspects that will help you in memorizing music. Memorizing music is tough. It's hard work if you're doing it correctly. If you just play through a piece over and over in the hopes that eventually it'll assimilate, that's not a very efficient way to learn music. You need to be organized, and I have videos on how to approach memorization. But the 3 secrets come down to memorizing every day. Now, why does that give you 3 benefits? Well, first of all, obviously, if you're memorizing every day, you're going to learn more. If you only try to do it once or twice a week or every other day, you're limited in how much you're going to be able to learn by the sheer amount of time. But it's more than that. The second thing about memorizing every day is you get to reinforce your work from the previous day. Because otherwise you're going 2 steps forward, 1 step backward every day, trying to get back what you learned even the next day is a big challenge. But if you wait a couple of days, you will have forgotten a great deal, and so you really are not going to be able to be as productive. And the third reason is that Since memorizing is very taxing, there's only so much you can do at peak performance in one sitting. If you do it every day, you get your mind when it's fresh. And that's a tremendous benefit to you. You could soak up a bunch of music before you get to that point of diminishing returns. So remember, if you're serious about memorizing music, get to it every day. There's so many benefits to that, and you will be rewarded with amassing great amounts of repertoire in your music. Thanks again for joining me, Robert Estrin, here at livingpianos.com, your online piano store. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can even hit the bell so you'll be notified when there's new videos for you. See you next time.
Request. I've actually received the same request from two people, well, I guess three. Sean and his son, they said they were working on memorizing, as well as Chris from England. So this is cool.
For 9 months, none more so than the doctors on the front lines and healthcare workers. It's more than offensive. It's a disgrace.
Biden's events with Obama show the campaign is leaving nothing to chance. Polling puts Joe Biden ahead in Michigan by more than 6 percentage points. But Democrats fear a repeat of 2016, when Mr. Trump won Michigan by fewer than 11,000 votes.
I don't care how hard Donald Trump tries. There's nothing, let me say it again, there's nothing that he can do to stop the people in this nation from voting in overwhelming numbers and taking back this democracy.
And Jeff joins us now from Detroit. Jeff, where is the Biden campaign headed next?
Jose, Biden's running mate Kamala Harris heads to Georgia tomorrow, where Democrats also have a competitive Senate race, and Joe Biden returns tomorrow to Pennsylvania as he tries to build back that blue wall that Donald Trump tore down in 2016. Pennsylvania, a critical state for both candidates. Jose, Kate.
Jeff Bennett, thank you. President Trump is already in Pennsylvania today with 4 stops in the Keystone State. He's focused on keeping his supporters fired up. Our Kelly O'Donnell is traveling with the commander-in-chief and has this report.
Air Force One touching down in Pennsylvania for a full-day, 4-event tour in this land of 20 electoral votes.
You know what's looking good? Pennsylvania's looking good.
The president showing anger and anxiety about waiting for election results, with a vague warning to Pennsylvania's Democratic governor.
Open up this state, Governor. Open up this state. And don't take advantage of those ballots, Governor. Don't do it.
President Trump delivered a striking rebuke of the Supreme Court that he helped shape, after a decision that in Pennsylvania's case, the Commonwealth gets 3 days beyond Tuesday to count mail-in ballots.
This is a horrible thing that the United States Supreme Court has done to our country. And I say it loud, and I say it proud.
The president is trying to repeat a victory here, as polling shows Joe Biden's consistent lead tightening, now to 5 points within the margin of error.
This doesn't seem like someone who's going to come in second.
First Lady Melania Trump on a solo trip in Wisconsin and here in Pennsylvania, taking on Biden.
Apparently, when you hide in a basement, you feel safe communicating your wishful thinking.
The president, who called COVID serious and touted his pandemic management, also made a punchline out of COVID hitting his own family.
And our great First Lady tested positive. That's, well, at least those rumors that we don't live together turned out to be false.
Kelly joins us now from Butler, Pennsylvania. Kelly, the president is coming back to Pennsylvania one last time before Tuesday, right?
That's right, Kate. He's on the stage now, and there will be one more stop in Pennsylvania after the 4 events today. That happens on Monday, and he has 10 rallies in a very hectic schedule across a number of battleground states in the final 2 days of campaigning. Kate?
Kelly O'Donnell, thank you. Now to the COVID crisis and fears that Halloween parties could be the newest super spreading events. The number of cases smashing records, infecting more Americans per day than ever before. Sam Brock has late details.
Tonight's Halloween scare, record-breaking COVID cases and disturbing photos out of Brooklyn, where police say hundreds of partiers packed inside of a warehouse shut down for breaking New York orders on gatherings as a pandemic rages. The U.S. hitting nearly 100,000 infections Friday, an all-time high, and now crossing 230,000 deaths. Souls stolen from their families, like Gary Gavin, a loving father from northern Wisconsin, whose daughter says he was also battling cancer.
I feel like he has just become a statistic that nobody really cares about. I've had people tell me, well, you know, it's less than 1% of people that are dying. It's still 230,000 people. And if it's your loved one, does that make it okay?
Illinois just smashed its daily record of cases, almost 7,000, one of 14 states reporting new single-day peaks on Friday, as cases in once battered Florida heat up to levels not seen since August.
Anytime you see a resurgence, and when you see what's happening in Europe, and we went through that second big wave in the summer, you're always concerned.
In Texas and California, both states zeroing in on 1 million cases. Hospital systems remain under siege.
Last night I didn't sleep for more than 3 hours in a row because the calls keep coming.
The surge in COVID coinciding with the arrival of Halloween and deep concern about campus safety. From rivalry college football games to possible parties, San Diego area students hit with cease and desist orders, while other schools prohibit off-campus gatherings. Across the Atlantic.
From Thursday until the start of December, you must stay at home.
England about to start a second national lockdown, joining France and Belgium with a fresh wave of the virus striking Europe. Restrictions tightening here and abroad.
I just don't think that the sacrifices that are asked to be made are as big as the sacrifice of losing a family member.
And Sam's with us. Sam, today Governor Cuomo in New York announced rules about traveling to New York State.
Okay, you know how much travel there is between Florida and New York. No more quarantine list. Instead, what you need if you want to go to New York is a negative COVID-19 test within 3 days of arriving in New York. Then you'll wait 3 more days, get a second negative COVID test, and you don't have to quarantine for 2 weeks. Kate and Jose, back to you.
Sam Brock in Miami, thank you. I am here in North Carolina tonight because this is one of the biggest battleground prizes this election, but it used to be a reliably Republican state. That changed partly due to voters here in Charlotte, which are reliably Democratic and getting bigger by the day.
Just look at Charlotte's skyline and you can see the change.
If you had come here 25 years ago, you would have seen maybe 1 or 2 towers.
Everywhere you turn in this city, another building going up.
This constant influx of people, does it change this city?
We have a huge immigrant population here from all over the country. We also have boomers that come, but we're growing most quickly with millennials.
Tammy and Darren Bratt moved here from Connecticut 3 years ago for work. Are you a North Carolinian now?
I would like to think so, at least.
Have you decided who you're going to vote for?
I have. I've actually already voted, and I voted for Joe Biden.
What about you?
I've also pre-voted for Joe Biden.
And that may be one of the reasons this previously deep red state is now a very mixed purple.
120 people move to the city of Charlotte every single day. That's nearly 50,000 people a year. And 60% of the residents of the county this city sits in were born outside the state.
In the town of Cary, just outside Raleigh, the early voting line sounds almost like a geography class.
I grew up in Delaware.
New York.
Michigan. New Jersey.
I'm from Somalia.
The town has become such a magnet for transplants, locals jokingly claim Cary actually stands for Concentrated Area of Relocated Yankees.
There's probably $5 billion worth of construction underway.
Carey sits in the area known as the Triangle, which has become a booming hub for technology and pharmaceutical companies.
There are 33 active prospects looking at the Triangle region.
Those jobs drawing new residents.
The projection is that our current rate of growth will add about 1 million people between now and 2040. That's an additional 80% of what we have.
Hi, in this video I want to reply to viewers' requests for tips to improve memorization. When you are at school, college, you spent most of your days thinking and memorizing facts pertaining to subjects that interested you most, are most likely to be memorized than facts pertaining to subjects that interested you less. Some lyrics are often memorized without conscious thought or effort, but note, just with repeated listenings for pleasure. If you like classical music and are assigned or choose a piece, you'll memorize it easier if you like and really want to play it. The key umbrella words being really want to. Playing piano is mysterious, but less mysterious than some imagine. The more you play, the better you get, at least if you use your practice time efficiently. Same goes for skateboarding or BMX. However, what constitutes practice time varies from pianist to pianist. This relates to memorization. There's mental practice and physical practice. Glenn Gould claimed to do more of the former than the latter. If mental practice is new to you, this video is for you. There's basically two types of physical practice: blocked practice and random practice. Blocked is repetitive, usually small sections or phrases. This helps some feel securely organized, knowing it guarantees technical results, and greatly aids memorization for them. This approach doesn't suit others, and they instead prefer random practice, which offers a musician, usually with more experience, a way of keeping a feeling of freshness with the score. The key word here is experienced. The blocked method of repetitive practice in phrases, if you do it musically, listening carefully to make improvements, invariably leads to quicker memorization, as fingers just seem to remember. It's as simple as that. The key word here is experienced. The blocked method of repetitive practice in results and greatly aids memorization for them. This approach doesn't suit others, and they instead prefer random practice, which offers a musician, usually with more experience, a way of keeping a feeling of freshness with the score. The key word here is experienced. The blocked method of repetitive practice in phrases, if you do it musically, listening carefully to make improvements, invariably leads to quicker memorization, as fingers just seem to remember. It's as simple as that. But this video aims to present you with a new challenge to develop something you have the ability to do and do well, and you may not realize it yet. That is mental practice and memorization, away from the piano. In one of my Google Plus albums, I've chosen some simple pieces to get you started. The links below. You don't have to use these pieces. Of course, similar simple pieces are all that's needed. Print these or photocopy the score so you can fold it and put it in your pocket or bag. On a day at school, college, work, or none of the above, just a day away from a keyboard or piano, take this simple page of music with you. Find a quiet place, sit and focus on the music and play it mentally with the aim of memorizing it without your fingers being involved in the process. The conclusion of the exercise is to return home to your piano and play it without the music in front of you physically for the first time. I know it sounds difficult to do, and it is at first, but if you persevere, it's the best way I know of to develop the conscious mental process of memorization. It's an ability you can develop over time which greatly aids memorization when physically playing. If you extend a leap of faith to me, I'd like to show you it's possible to do this even at my age. I've included a link to free scores of national anthems which serve as good as anything. Choose one you either don't know randomly or one you're curious about. Just one you don't know too well, as it could already be in your memory. I've chosen the Austrian national anthem, as my Irish piano manufacturers are based in Vienna. So I was curious. I'm taking a tea break and running through the score of the Austrian national anthem at the kitchen table until I feel it's memorised. The process, strange to say, feels surprisingly similar to playing physically. Now, I haven't played it yet. Let's go to the piano and see how I do. The idea is not to embellish it with chords and harmonies, just to play the notes as written. To sum up, pianists memorise with finger memory from repetitive practice, but also mental visualisation, sometimes the score, sometimes patterns. Mental practice is surprisingly helpful to those that find themselves with time on their hands during the day away from the piano, such as travelling or waiting, and want to use that time productively and improve their piano skills. So I hope you find this video useful, and thanks for watching.
Every strong community that's ever existed started with sharing. We share experiences.
Hey everyone, this is Josh with Josh Wright Piano TV. Today's episode is about a better way to memorize. I've been reading a book, well, I've read it over the course of many months, called Piano Technique by Walter Gieseking and Carl Leimer, I believe is how you say it. I might be wrong on that. And they go over a lot of things about piano technique, obviously, but one of the first things he emphasizes is the proper way to memorize. And I'd never memorized this way before, and it really does speed up the process tremendously. You could use this to memorize music, a speech, whatever you want. His whole purpose, or his whole premise is you've got to go to the piano, or go to your music first, and really study it and have a good understanding of it, and then you can go and to the piano with it memorized and try it out. That takes quite a while. I kind of do a mixture of both. I become familiar with the music in my fingers a little bit. You know, I don't want to just get muscle memory, but a little bit in the fingers. I sit and I analyze some chords, and then I will do some further steps. But I'm going to just show you kind of a place in real time that I've been memorizing from Liszt Totentons. This I've been memorizing from Liszt Totentons. This fast little place at the end.
Hey.
Memorizing from Liszt Totentons. This fast little place at the end. It's a little sloppy, but. And I've only worked on this for probably, to be honest, you know, a good 3 weeks, maybe a month of consistent days. So I probably worked on it for 30 days because I've had several projects going on. And I kind of memorized it halfway as I went through with the way I'm about to show you. And I'm also going to solidify the memory with the way I'm about to show you. Okay, so what I've done, I'm going to take this next little part because this is the part that's really annoying and confusing. And if by some miracle I can memorize this right in front of you in a quick manner, that'll be great. So what I want you to understand first is if you're going to memorize music, you should have a good understanding of theory first. And what I mean by that is scales, arpeggios, triads, and seventh chords. You should be able to analyze basic hymns or four-part harmony. Now, most of you are going to click out of the video and say, nope, don't want to learn that. I'm too lazy. But don't be too lazy. Trust me, it will help you so much in your life if you do that, in your piano life, or violin, or whatever you play. I've created a whole series called the Pro Practice Technique series. You don't have to go, get that series or anything. I'm just saying that series outlines everything in detail if you need help on it. If you can do it on your own, great. So what I've done here, this next little passage, I've gone through and I've written out the harmonies for each chord. And I'm just going to take you through those really quick. This is the Peters edition. It's page 128. I don't have bar numbers in here, unfortunately. So this is an A major chord. So you've got to decipher what are the chord tones and which are not. So here, that looks like an A major chord to me. The next one is an A minor chord. Okay, the next one, it could be C major, it could be A minor. I'm going to do C major just since we've come from 2 A chords. Okay, and then you're going to go to E7. I'm going to go to E7, E major, A minor, G minor, C major. Okay, now I like to sometimes memorize in a tiny piece at a time, or I'll kind of memorize all the names of those harmonies first. So A major, A minor, C major, E7, E major. Let me see if I can just do that much because we're pushing it here. A major, A minor, C major, E7, E major. Okay, and then the last ones are A minor, G major, C major. Let's see if there's a pattern here. There's not. There's a pattern throughout the piece of and then that's the main theme of the piece. And then that's a pretty common things. So I can keep those E's in mind because look, here's E, and finally G, G. Okay, so that's kind of a pattern that I can immediately start looking at. Okay, next, let's just memorize a tiny chunk, and here's where the method really comes into play that Gieseking outlines, or Carl Weimer outlines. I'm going to just stare at the music. I'm going to look at the music and I'm going to say, and I did this a little bit in my list Pro Practice study series, if you want to check that out.
So feeding so video. Стращает меня еще. Это вот очень важно. Блин, мне же надо эту штуку надеть. Грязный пуховик. Завтра сажусь. Ты понял. weeks. Rest. Да. У меня так вот честно, если да, я делал что-то не то. То есть не меморизировался, я не меморизовался как это. Я согласен, да. Вот надо подработать над собой, да. Нет, теоретически-то все знают. Я понял, ну да, да. Ну да, вот это есть безобразное состояние. Да, кстати, да. Наоборот. Да, такой. Ой, это я понял, отсюда все
have here now.
Yadira Salamander and her husband Sean moved their family from India.
Ладно, все, пошел.